Nasip Izwane here, founder of Sludge Underground Podcast, and I've got a bit of a story for this one. So a couple of days ago, I received a text from Dan Adonic of YCS telling me that there's a highly anticipated movie coming out called Longlegs, and he'd like a whole lot of us to come together and basically do an honest review of the movie once we have watched it. So we went out to Suncoast in Durban, a whole lot of us within a couple of bands in Durban, namely YCS, Thorns of Ivory. We also had Mina in there, who's absolutely brilliant, and we watched the movie, and thereafter went to Mike's place to do a bit of a review. So that is exactly what you're going to be seeing today on this particular episode. It is something that we don't generally do on Sludge Underground, but I thought to myself, this is an amazing experiment, and it would be nice for the people to basically see us in a different space and to basically just experiment with something that's more in line with pop culture. And as you will know, that Longlegs has been highly anticipated. So I hope that you do enjoy this piece of content. Do let us know what you think of the review in the comments, and do remember, it is an experiment. It is our first time, so if we don't get anything right, do let us know what it is we can improve on as well, and it will help us a lot. So hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, continue to support Sludge Underground and continue to support local. I hope you enjoy our honest review of Longlegs.
So we just watched Longlegs in cinema at the city centre at Suncoast. I guess this is Movies with Dan. No, I wasn't gonna say that, but anyway, this is for Sludge Underground. It's for the podcast with a bunch of creatives over here. We've got Naz, we've got Mino, we got Mike, we got Nate. So we're just going to talk a little bit about our experience, our thoughts on the film. That's pretty much the vibe. So enjoy. Anyone want to start off with some of the observations? Who's the director? Mina, you know the director.
Yeah, that's Oz Perkins. He's a really good director and, has done two of my favorite films, actually. Pretty Thing That Lives in the House and Black Coat's Daughter. So, yeah.
Mike had a bit of an incident while we were watching. He actually nodded off to sleep. He's an EP boy. Isn't that right, Mike?
Yeah, no, it was a good kip as well. Until I got woken up by my wife. So,
What did you guys think of the film though? Like maybe we can go like a round table type thing. I don't know what.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Nate, you're sitting there.
Right at the end there.
Yeah, I found like a lot of the how can I say the aspect ratios used it, the little bordering, especially in the beginning, there was a lot of the dark shots where you couldn't quite actually make out what's going on at times. Yeah. And it seemed to get lighter and lighter and lighter through the film as you kind of discovered what the hell was going on. But yeah, just a lot of the angles and everything for the dialogue, and it was interesting. Like some of them you thought, okay, that's a bit odd, but others it just made sense. Great tracking shots as well, but color overlays as well just gave this sort of sense of knowing what's going on, not knowing what's going on. There's that whole kind of hidden bits of
air and mystery.
Yeah, as you get along, and then also a lot of the red that's used whenever it's kind of going into the Satan side of the character.
And the more sinister stuff.
Yeah, definitely the more sinister side. Yeah, that comes out quite. So the color palette, like the choice of colors, is
100%. Yeah.
Super duper interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I totally wasn't as observant about all the filters and color and stuff like that, but you could definitely feel there was a tone to the movie. Also went into it pretty blind, not knowing too much other than Nicolas Cage was in the movie.
And he was great. He
totally was. Yeah,
he smashed that performance, I'd say.
The prosthetics or makeup and stuff that he was wearing was like, you could tell it's him, but not really. It was a very interesting role. And overall, the movie to me was like quite a slow burn horror. I was expecting it to be like, again, not really knowing what to expect, but I thought maybe there'd be like jump scares and random stuff, but it was like a real slow burn, kind of like picks up your anxiety slowly, and really makes you feel uncomfortable throughout the movie.
For sure. I think what you mentioned, Nate, is like really interesting when you're talking about how it was filmed, especially when I was quite anxious that the whole movie was going to be really hard to see. When we first started watching, I was like, man, I can't see anything that's going on. But then later on, you sort of realize it's filmed with negative space. So in certain shots, you can see like the torches are showing you what to look at, or the sunlight, coming in through a door or something like that. So just highlighting certain things in a scene. and the rest of it like sort of leaves you in the dark, like literally and figuratively, of course. And then what you said, Mike, about that sort of impending sense of anxiety throughout the film, that you know something is going to happen. And also the prosthetics, I feel like it's really cool what they did there. It's like, it feels like Uncanny Valley.
Yeah,
you know, it's like wrong to look at his face.
Yeah, the thing is, and I think it's also weird that you know it's Nicolas Cage. You're cognizant of the fact that this is
and you keep trying to see his face.
Yeah, you're trying to you are looking for the Nicolas Cage in the character. Whereas I think in many cases when it's Nick Cage in a movie, he's kind of typecast, if I can say that. And I suppose to an extent he was here because but he's quite a versatile actor.
Yes.
But I do think that the prosthetics in particular for his character, it allowed him to play that character in just a really interesting way.
It was very interesting for me. I felt like in the beginning of the movie, it was quite cool how we sort of got to see him, like the actual like Longlegs sort of character. And then there was some time, in between, like when we started seeing more of him and that beginning part where you hardly saw him. He probably popped up like once or twice, and then as the movie went on, you started seeing sort of more of him, like that shot where he's in the room looking at the photos, I think, or he's in like that red room, and we starting to see him now, at that bus stop, whatever the case is. We started seeing, I feel like they sort of gradually started like showing us more of him, and I found myself wishing near the beginning, I don't want to make this a gaming thing, but there's it reminded, in the beginning, it left me wanting to see more of Longlegs, because they just weren't showing enough of him. It reminded me of if anyone has played Far Cry 5, I think it is, where they've got the guy that played Gustavo in Breaking Bad.
Yes,
he's like the antagonist, and a lot of the people were just complaining.
One collar.
Yeah. Esposito or something like that.
Yes,
Yeah, so the people were complaining that they got this badass like super villain type guy, but you only saw him like 3 times in the entire thing, right? So that's how I felt in the beginning. Like, okay, I want to see more of Longlegs though, but I feel like it was intentional now when I'm listening to what you guys are saying as well, building up that suspense, and the more the movie goes on, we then get to see, the guy in full force and everything. It was something that I appreciated, but yeah, it was a really cool movie. I enjoyed it, yeah.
I personally just love that aspect that they don't really you don't see all of the villain, as it were, and then you kind of also get the idea that he's kind of like some horrible pawn in a game or something like that he's being used or compelled by this otherworldly force to do the bidding of something profoundly evil. So like you guys are saying, with like the sense of anxiety and all that kind of stuff, for me it's like there's this pervasive feeling of dread, which I think is like just indicative of the whole, or shall we say typical, if you will, of like the slow burn genre.
Yeah.
It's always that feeling of, you're sitting on the edge of your seat type thing. So it's not necessarily, if you're a fan of jump scares and stuff, you're not really going to get that. But there are, not that there aren't some moments that are shocking, but it doesn't go like balls to the wall. Like, it's sort of like your eyes are glued to that screen. Because even for me, I know it's not the longest runtime for a movie, but it felt short. It felt too short to me. I was like, oh wow, it's like done. And you just kind of, and you're trying to just absorb psychologically.
And process it,
process everything. So what did you guys think of, we talked about Longlegs a little bit, but what about the protagonist, the FBI agent Lee Harker?
Yeah, it's like one of those interesting sort of things of, it starts off with the whole idea that she's tracking him down and trying to figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, the whole time she kind of knew what was going on. It was just this amnesia kind of sort of stereotypical kind of thing of characters trying to figure out what's going on, but deep down they already know, and it's this awakening of how can I say, a really disturbing world that they already have experienced. And yeah.
But I think I like that it's got this nightmarish, the whole thing's got this nightmarish quality, and that's something that I really do like. I'd say it's got like a modern retro type vibe, if I can say that, but I do really like the nightmarish quality, and I think we'll talk about that in a second. Sorry to interject. But definitely it's like she's trying to, you can see right from the outset that she's battling some very real demons and stuff, just her demeanor and all that kind of thing.
What you just said now is that I could tell from the get-go that she was battling something, and it was very difficult to pick up or read what it was exactly. And then, as things unravel, you kind of, like Nate's saying, like it's kind of there already. She seemed to know that this is what is going to happen anyway. And this was just a extended nightmare of what was about to go down, and the whole order of the movie and stuff was very unraveling from it seemed like the end was the beginning and vice versa sort of thing, so the way it did kind of come to an end and stuff, it did feel like unique in that sense of a horror movie for me, so that was cool. I did feel like confused and then sort of understood what was happening, and then they still sort of twisted it towards the end. But I have to agree with Naz as well. I also find myself wanting to see Longlegs like a lot more in the movie. And maybe that's also the perception of it feeling short because of that sort of lack of things, but I guess there's an art to that, and the way it did go down, maybe that's what they intended and how they wanted it to be.
I'd say definitely.
It's definitely got me thinking about it now.
Knowing the director's style,
Yeah.
I mean, because Mina, you've seen.
Yes.
I'm the pretty.
Very much.
I'm the
his
pretty
style.
thing that lives in the house.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That very weird film.
Yeah.
Also slow burn. Type. I mean, I think this director really it's kind
That's
of like
his thing. Yeah.
That's his whole thing.
He's got it down.
I mean, do you see any parallels between Longlegs and
Oh
say?
yeah. So talking about the protagonist of the film, very interesting because she was in It Follows Micah Monroe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
And stellar performance quite a few years ago, and
Wow.
she's grown as an actress even more since
Oh my
then.
God! It's
right.
That's Lee Harker.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! I can't believe I didn't see that.
So I think she was really great, and she has sort of like the Kubrick stare thing going on, like that unblinking huge eyes in the
and also,
shots.
and also like a big shout out to Shelley Duvall who just passed away.
Yes.
And obviously, she was she's
a horror icon.
Yeah, precisely. And I mean, just for her role in The Shining, which
Yeah.
I think in many ways is still like the creme de la creme. Like I think even movies like Longlegs draw a huge amount of their influence.
Oh, for sure.
that Kubrick. Like you said, that all those Kubrick-esque,
Yes.
Kubrickian.
Kubrickian.
I think that's
Even like
it's
films
really
like Seven, for example,
yes,
had a lot of that stuff in. So, she was great. I really liked what they did with her character.
I do love the idea of like a protagonist that just has this internal struggle. Like you can see, it's like they're troubled. They're
it
deeply
was
troubled.
cool. I feel like when she got the letter from Mr. Longlegs initially, and she just had no reaction to it, I was like, well, there's something wrong with this girl, because I'm like, are you not freaking out about it at all? She's like, I'm gonna solve these clues immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, why are you doing this so casually, bro?
Yeah.
It's like she somehow just kind of knew how to figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she like prophesized where
When they were doing that test.
Yeah, no, but also when they arrive at the door and the guy
and she knew.
pops her partner.
Spoiler alert.
It's like, oh yeah, I knew. It's like, how do you know these things?
Yeah, but I mean, I think even it's like even a half psychic, because she's not fully psychic, because they're like, but they do that sort of test where
She
it's like,
solved like half of
yeah,
it.
what's the number between 0 and 100? And she's like, it's 0. In the end, whatever. Oh, no, yeah, more spoilers.
Yeah.
But how about you, Nas?
Yeah, more or less just taking from what Mina just said as well, how she was just unfazed in a way, but more especially how it's sort of refreshing having a protagonist in a horror movie that isn't like she's she goes after it. Like there was a part where she'd hear like a noise or something, like that knock. She heard the knock, and then she literally like looked around, turned some lights on, and then went outside with her gun and everything. It's so refreshing having someone who's not going to be like, hello, is like anyone there? Type vibe.
That's for real though.
Yeah.
For real, like I always talk to Mina about sort of I called it I don't know if it's a thing, but if it's not, then I totally coined it. But it's I call it the gothic underreaction.
Yes.
And I mean, like, okay.
Okay, I'll let you say it because
okay.
you can say it.
I'm going to say this. Sorry.
rock, paper, scissors.
I was going to say it. I know both of us are itching to say something. But like, if you look at something like The Woman in Black. One reason I love that film is okay. Obviously, Daniel Radcliffe is amazing and he's great. Like, you know, but when he sees all that messed up shit, and then he just sort of stands there and he's like all chilled out. Or like I think my favorite example is Keanu Reeves in Dracula.
Yeah.
The Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, it's Bram
and he
Stoker's
just checks Dracula like
climbing
on
the
the
walls.
side of the fucking castle wall, and he's just like, "Whoa," but like not like, you know, like not horrified. He's like, "Cool, right."
I don't even think he says anything.
No, he doesn't say anything. He just sort of like, all right, then that's fine. Yeah, enjoy your evening crawl type thing. So yeah, I mean that's the thing, is like just in terms of realism, horror realism. You know, you kind of go, that's it. She starts like her heart starts beating. She's like freaking the fuck out.
And the breathing,
the breathing.
Yeah, the breathing.
At the beginning
you notice
and the
it.
end.
Yeah,
You know,
you notice
that's actually
it.
such a good point that you bring up there with the, because you can feel like it.
Yeah.
I started getting panic attacks. I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
horror ASMR, yes, nice, good hacking sounds.
It seems
as
like it
well.
was like they did it deliberately as well, because it's noticeable. I don't know if it's like you notice it. You know, to that
no,
point.
I mean, but that's it. Like that's just part of the sound design as well.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even then, it's like I don't think there's a tremendous amount of like music, like score to speak of, and that's something you see quite a lot of, because like music plays such an important. I mean, look, we're all pretty much musicians or into music, yeah, and we know just how much of a role music plays in movies, in general, but especially in horror. You know, so it's just like, I think there where you almost got like that immersive, I guess you would call it, like, I wouldn't call it a soundtrack, but like you've got, like you said, like the breathing and that kind of stuff, and voices, and even Nicolas Cage sort of like singing, which kind of gets into like, I would say like Evil Dead territory, like that demented Sam Raimi type vibe, and then you kind of almost like don't know whether you should sort of laugh or be horrified. And I love that when you've got sort of this like duplicity, like this paradox of emotions. You're like, what the fuck? This is horrifying. This is terrifying. But at the same time, I can't help but laugh.
I'd like to know what you guys reckon could have been better in the movie.
No, that's actually quite a difficult one, because I mean, overall, I did enjoy it, and I think the movie achieves what it was meant to achieve. I think just because I am, or there's something trying to get into the back here.
Long legs.
It's long legs.
long legs.
It's long legs. He's here.
Nicolas Cage is here on set. Everybody, Nicolas Cage. No, but for real though, I think it was definitely more of a psychological thriller. I kind of feel like with the marketing, how can I say it? Meow. I would just say that it kind of, I was expecting more of a horror. So I think there was some supernatural elements, and it was definitely like messed up. But I think I would have liked a little bit more intensity in certain scenes, maybe, or even when like with Longlegs himself. It's just like, but at the same time, you know, when it did wind up to like those big crescendos, if you will, it was genuinely horrifying. I think overall the pacing was good, but again, it's like if you're not into the slow burn thing, I don't think this is a film that you'll particularly enjoy.
Can I just interrupt you there, bro? Like what you mentioned about the supernatural stuff. One thing that I did like is how essentially Longlegs was committing these sort of like murders in a way. It was made to seem sort of like it's a supernatural thing before the protagonist sort of caught on to the fact that there must be someone else that he's working with. Yeah. And it sort of adds to that, maybe like you thinking to yourself, okay, are these supernatural forces or whatever? And then you find out that actually no, he's actually working with someone who's executing these, you know, and he's struck a deal with her and all of that there, which was something that was pretty cool. There was that bit of supernatural sort of element to it with the dolls, which was, I think, was the inclusion of that sort of supernatural type stuff. But I guess it wasn't enough. What I will say to that, Naz, is like there's not enough evidence to actually show you that it actually is supernatural. It's like you kind of get this idea that there's some supernatural force going on, or there's a suggestion, but it's not like there's any definitive proof that it's like ghosts or demons or whatever. Yeah. Like obviously those are discussed and those are sort of themes in the film, but you don't see. It's kind. I guess it kind of draws on like the Blair Witch Project in a way, where like you never actually see the witch. Mm-hmm. You see all the results and you hear things in the forest and this kind of stuff. And I think in a way that makes it's like, you know, it poses that question. Is it people who are evil, or are they like these other
forces at work that compel us to do these things or influence us, and that's what makes us bad, as we listen to the devil and he tells us what to do. So I think it's nice that there isn't actually any nice, everything tied up with a little ribbon.
Yeah, on my side, it's more of what I was saying earlier. I wanted to see a lot more of Longlegs in the movie, but as you said, gradually started showing up a lot more. Something that Nate touched on is how dark everything was initially. I wish, there were some parts where I was like, okay, what the hell is going on here? But it is like I guess it's like I don't know, like a design choice.
Yeah, an intentional.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, done intentionally in a way. But yeah, I think it would just be those two things for me. It was a bit short, as Danny Donick here said. It did feel like it was a little bit short. I'm not too sure how I feel about the ending.
We're not giving anything away, guys.
But yeah, that's if you want the ending, watch the movie. But yeah, that's what I have to say.
I would also say runtime wise, a little bit.
It just feels like it needed
just
a little bit. We need a director's cut.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about here, boys and girls.
I have a little bit of a pet peeve when it comes to showing you, like part 1, this thing, part 2, that thing.
I hated that too.
Like the title
it felt like
Yes.
a series almost. It was weird.
I think it can be cool, and like when it first started being introduced in series and movies, I was like, okay, that's interesting. But now I feel like
it's like cliche.
It's kind of cliche, but I think there's still something to be said about it. It still has its value. Nate, you mentioned like at the beginning the Polaroid effect, and them sort of keeping that in and integrating it into the scenes. That was interesting. There were some shots that I was like, are they just doing this like to be like, ooh, spooky, scary, like with the snakes? Like I'm still like, what the fuck? Why were the snakes?
Yeah,
I was like, I was
what
waiting
was the
for
significance of
the snakes?
Actually,
it's something cool to think about. I mean, like, what was the significance of
well, I mean,
Longlegs as a name?
Yeah, I mean, that's also the thing is like that. Look, not that you want everything. I don't think you're going to get a lot of it explained. There's not like exposition really.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, I would say that the snakes relate to the idea of the devil being a serpent. Again, it's kind of like Garden of Eden type vibes. The snake is what caused man to sin, and that's why you see the snake slithering, the python, or that kind of stuff, and it's red. It would be, look, I mean, that's just sort of my take on it. Long legs, I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, I know in Durban we talk about daddy long legs, like the gnats or the spiders.
That shot of him when he's standing, like waiting at the bus stop, and they're showing just like a full body thing. I tried to look at the legs and tried to be like, okay, well, long legs, he is a bit tall.
Are they pretty long?
But right, does Nicolas Cage have long legs? He's all leg and no torso.
Yeah.
So if he's like, no, don't say that. Mike, I don't want you to fall asleep.
I would have loved to have seen the protagonist get pushed to a point of like actually cracking to completely hit it where she like loses it, because she does keep her composure pretty much the whole time, even though like we're saying you can tell there's something uncomfortable going on inside her. But it would be nice for Longlegs to have pushed her to this point of like completely cracking and breaking her, and it might have helped more scene time, like we're saying, with seeing him more and him being even weirder than we've already established in the movie. I think Mina had brought up earlier before we started watching, we were asking about favorite horror movies. One of mine actually is Dead Silence. I don't know if you guys have ever watched that.
Thank you for mentioning that movie. It's one of freaking that movie scares the crap out of me.
So with the doll aspect of the movie, I sort of in my mind I was relating this while I was watching, but I couldn't put my finger on it what it was. And when we saw like the snakes and things like that with the dolls, I kind of thought it was leading towards something similar where there's a little bit more human in the doll, like Tombs, I guess. But yeah, the way it turned out was also still very creepy and made me think a lot. I'm definitely gonna watch the movie again and see and look for stuff that I missed.
Yeah, I feel like there might be something hiding in certain scenes, or even just pieces of dialogue. Because there's I think at some point someone mentioned something about legs being wrapped up. So I'm like, okay, so, and even those notes, reading, like when she interprets the notes and stuff like that, I still feel like you could watch. That is the nice thing, is like with those ciphers and even the file photos and that kind of stuff, and thinking about the triangles and all that. I mean, it's like, this is a movie, I think if you want to get more value out of it, you'd have to go and do some back reading into parts of the occult, or even, something like for me, there's like a little bit of a Zodiac killer type vibe going on here, because that's sort of like the satanic panic thing of like the 70s, 80s, and whatever. So there's definitely a lot of cultural references and references to people. And Manson is mentioned as well,
and the family,
the Manson family, and the accomplices. Nate, sorry, we're ignoring your inputs.
Yeah, touching on what Mark said is basically with the doll aspect that, I get that he's this doll maker and he puts all this effort into it, and there's that supernatural aspect of it, but I was kind of hoping that we were going to see something more of what the doll would do, not just kind of sit there. The whole name Longlegs, I mean, when I went into this whole thing, I went in completely blind. It was only actually when Mark mentioned when we were having a drink beforehand that, Nick Cage is in it. I was like, oh shit, okay, well, one new little bit of info, but the whole thing I was expecting like a slasher film in a way, and Longlegs kind of almost being this horrible creature in a way.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying about the supernatural horror aspect. So I mean, I think if you are going in with it being, again, we're kind of talking more. This is closer to like a 7 than it is to say something like The Witch or a Hereditary, as it were, which is definitely more overtly supernatural, I would say. So yeah,
I was definitely expecting like a Slender Man type figure.
Yeah,
of sorts.
I did from the promo. I felt that was going to be the whole vibe. Like he's almost not like almost a cryptid, which I think would have been very interesting.
Would have been.
I think it would have been too much like an It Follows kind of thing as well. And
Yeah, maybe. I mean, in some ways, I feel like then it would have been like, because I think the whole idea is it's understated. This guy's work is characteristically it's understated for a reason, because I think it's also kind of like, if I can put it this way, it's like it's just like you edge the entire movie. You never get to like shoot your load, as it were.
Out of 5, each person, what would you rate this movie?
I would say a good 4.5 out of 5.
Okay, that's impressive. Mike, before we fall asleep.
Look, like I said, I need to watch it again, so I'm gonna give it like a 3.15.
3.15. Not I'm just like, what percentage even is it, people?
So all these little things we've just discussed, that's like points adding up in minuscule decimals and shit. But
it's a 60 something. How about you?
Yeah, either closest to a 4, but maybe a 3.5. Yeah.
Fair. I'm also at 3.5.
I'd say 4. Just because I do know this director's work, and I do think, and again, I think I'm giving it a higher rating just because I think it demands a rewatch. I think if you're watching it the first time, you're going to just go, half of it, you're going to be like, huh?
Yeah.
What? Was? Yeah. So, and I mean, as well, that's just my opinion. Like, I mean, it's obviously, and it's not for everybody. I don't think a movie like this it's kind of a avant-garde type thing, But, I'd say that's kind of it. So I think we're sort of don't you start. Yeah, Sorry, everybody. I'm not allowed to use the word avant-garde around Naz, and there are reasons for that, and you will not be finding out what those reasons are anytime soon. But yeah, I mean, I just think closing thoughts and stuff, it's definitely worthwhile. Like I said, not everybody's cup of tea, but I think it was interesting to go with a bunch of people some of who went in blind, some who are like Mina, who are familiar with the work of this director. Again, I think some great performances overall. I think we can all agree with that. Maybe the way the narrative played out was not how we would expect. But again, that's what happens with directors. They make their own creative choices. Yeah. Just like, us as musicians or artists, we make our own creative choices. Some people will like it, some people will not. But yeah, that's pretty much Longlegs.
I want to send a shout out to just Bryn for just getting us all together and taking us out and organizing this whole thing. It's
wherever you are, Bryn, thank you so much.
Yeah, wherever you are.
Yeah. Thank you, Bryn.
Yeah, shout out to Bryn.
We don't know. I don't know who that guy is, but yeah, but shout out to Bryn. Thank you.